Donald Trump announces he's being indicted. We've long expected this day to come, but it will be arriving very soon. And we've been asking ourselves about the timing on this thing. We've got an election coming up. We've already got 2 other indictments. We expect a 4th indictment to come out of Georgia. We're trying to piece together what this covers. What is the scope of the criminality? What different buckets did Jack Smith uncover? And what is the nature of the charges that we're going to see in the indictment? So we're going to go through Trump's announcement. We are going to also check in with Andrew Weissman, a former Trump prosecutor, see what CNN had to say about it. And then they were very excited about this footlong that Jack Smith was indulging in this afternoon, walking around with his sandwich. And we'll go through that story, so make sure you stick around for that. But first, this is what Trump posted over on Truth Social. He said, a statement by Donald Trump, 45th president of the United States. He writes, "Wow, on Sunday night, while I was with my family, having just arrived from Turning Point event in Florida, where I won the straw poll against all other Republican candidates with 85.7%, by the way, with all polls showing me leading in the Republican primary by very substantial numbers, almost everyone predicting that I will be the Republican nominee for president. And as I am leading Democrat Joe Biden in the polls by a lot, horrifying news for our country was given to me by my attorneys. Deranged Jack Smith, the prosecutor with Joe Biden's DOJ, sent a letter. Again, it was a Sunday night, stating that I am a target of the January 6th grand jury investigation and giving me a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and indictment. So now, Joe Biden's Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who I turned down for the United States Supreme Court in retrospect, based on his corrupt and unethical actions, a very wise decision, together with Joe Biden's Department of Injustice, have effectively issued a 3rd indictment and arrest of Joe Biden's #1 political opponent, who is largely dominating him in the race for the presidency. Nothing like this has ever happened in our country before, or even close. They illegally spied on my campaign, attacked me with a totally fake dossier that was funded by Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DNC. They impeached me twice. I won. They failed on the Mueller witch hunt, no collusion. They failed on the Russia hoax, the 51, quote, intelligence agents fraud, the FBI Twitter files, the DOJ Facebook censorship, and every other scam imaginable. But on top of all that, they have now effectively indicted me 3 times. The DOJ staffed and runs the DA's office in Manhattan, with a probable 4th indictment coming from Atlanta, where the DOJ are in strict and possibly illegal coordination with the district attorney, Fannie, the biggest Fannie in all of Georgia, Willis, whose record on murder and other violent crime is abysmal. This witch hunt is all about election interference and a complete and total political weaponization of law enforcement. It is a very sad and dark period for our nation. Donald Trump. And this is an interesting statement. This matters big time because he is the leading presidential candidate, and it is an unprecedented situation where the current president is prosecuting his opponent. By any stretch, no matter, even if you're a lefty Democrat, you can't deny that fact. He is far and away the leading contender, meaning a big significant portion of America thinks he is the next legitimate president and the best person to do the job. So even if they hate the man, they've got to at least, I would imagine, if they're in any way, shape, and form grounded to reality, at least recognize that this is a big deal for a huge portion of this country. And that may be why they're doing this. They want to rattle something loose, cause something else to happen so that they can jump on it or create it and then exploit it for their own ends. So we're always watching them for cause and effect. They indict, they know some things are going to happen. They're going to capitalize on those things that are happening. And we know they create crimes even when there are none. So this is Trump's statement. Now, we're asking ourselves, what does this mean exactly? Andrew Weissman, who is a former Trump prosecutor who, strangely has a lot of inside knowledge about what's going on. These people get leaks from the media, from Jack Smith's team. I don't know how they get their information, but here's what he says. Here's what this means. Trump was given an invitation to testify before the grand jury. He says he won't, but he must do so within 4 days. And this is the opportunity for Trump to present, his exculpatory evidence or anything that he thinks would exonerate him. They're giving him only 4 days. We're going to talk about that in a minute at the Justice Manual. No indictment before Friday. He says he's going to be indicted on 1/6 related charges. And so I certainly agree with that. Now, he is a former prosecutor, and this is the section on notification of targets. So if you go over to the DOJ's website, you'll find that they have their instructions about how this stuff works. When a grand jury is convened, we know what the powers of a grand jury are. We know what the advice is to the rights of grand jury witnesses, how to subpoena targets, and so on. Well, Trump just got a notification. So we can go to this section, 9-11.153. Here's what they say. When a target, I just zoomed in so we could read it, and then I lost track of where we were. So let's try that again. Boom. When a target is not called to testify pursuant to another provision and does not request to testify on his or her own motion, so meaning Trump has not reached out to them, the prosecutor, this is the manual to the attorneys, the prosecutor in appropriate cases is encouraged to notify such a person a reasonable time before seeking an indictment in order to afford him or her an opportunity to testify before the grand jury. All right. So now we're asking ourselves, is that a reasonable time? Like 4 days? You got 4 days to show up and testify, drop everything, Trumpy. Otherwise, you're going to be indicted. We're going to lock you up. So prosecutors are encouraged to give them a reasonable time, 4 days or else. Notification would not be appropriate in routine clear cases or when such action might jeopardize the investigation or prosecution because of the likelihood of flight, destruction, fabrication of evidence, endangerment of other witnesses, undue delay that would otherwise be inconsistent with the ends of justice. That might be their justification. We're going to give Trump just a very short amount of time to come in here and respond to this so that he doesn't wreck the case. And there's virtually zero possibility that Trump comes in and testifies. He's going to be invoking his right to remain silent all the way through this, maybe up until the trial, maybe through the trial, we don't know. But this is the reasonable amount of time. And on this channel, we've been concerned that the DOJ was going to make these arguments, like Trump might flee the country, like Trump might destroy evidence, or he might endanger witnesses, put pressure on them. And that is going to justify his being held in confinement. That's what the DOJ manual says. Now we're asking ourselves, who in particular is involved in this case? What witnesses are around? We know that in the Florida case, the classified documents saga, they subpoenaed throngs of people all throughout Mar-a-Lago and in other parts of the country. The investigation went over to Bedminster, New Jersey, and they've got thousands of hours or hundreds of hours of footage, thousands of documents, terabytes of data. But in this other case, this is about January 6th, and we've got different possibilities. False slate of electors. We've got, remember in the Proud Boys trial and the Oath Keepers trial, some of the defendants were pointing their fingers at Donald Trump and saying, hey, we were just doing what he said. They were trying to save themselves at the expense of Trump. Every single one of those lines of testimony or opening or closing statements was chronicled by the Department of Justice, obviously, going in a big fat dossier so that they could use it against Trump. Say, all of these people are pointing the finger at you. They're saying that they did these violent things because of you. Therefore, this is a conspiracy to, a seditious conspiracy, the same thing that Stuart Rhodes got indicted for and is going to prison for 18 years for. They're going to say he's the leader of that. So who's involved in that case? Could it be Doug Ducey? Could it be his own lawyers? Here's what CNN says.
This is first on CNN, but we have now learned that Jack Smith's team has reached out to the former Arizona governor, Doug Ducey, who we know Trump pressured him to overturn the election. The Washington Post had reported recently that Ducey had been saying privately he was kind of surprised that Jack Smith's team had not reached out to him. I was told by a source that they had contacted him, and a spokesman for Ducey confirmed and said to me, yes, he's been contacted, he's been responsive, and just as he's done since the election, he will do the right thing. I mean, this is really notable.
Just to clarify, when you say Jack Smith's office has reached out to him, you're not talking about sending a letter. You're talking about as a potential witness.
This would be as a potential witness. Trump tried to pressure Ducey when he was the governor of Arizona, obviously a state that Trump lost narrowly, to overturn the election results. And Ducey rejected that. He said he did not have the authority to do that. When he was certifying Joe Biden's win, his phone rang and it played Hail to the Chief. It was Trump calling him, and he silenced it and continued to certify the election.
I remember that.
But it is notable because that's another state official, a governor in one of the most critical states that Trump lost, that he was probably the most angry about, I think our sources would say. And Jack Smith's team has now reached out to Governor Ducey.
So we'll see if Ducey is working with Jack Smith and what he said. We know people like Rudy Giuliani also testified. We know that they have broken attorney-client privilege. A number of people on Trump's team, his lawyers, his vice president, were all out testifying at the grand jury. We don't know exactly what they said or whether their testimony was helpful or harmful to Donald Trump. But we now know Ducey was somebody who was involved as well. We're also asking ourselves, what about Rudy Giuliani? We remember previously here that we had learned that he testified for about 8 hours. Paula Reed over from CNN again. They get a lot of leaks here. So Rudy says that Rudy has not received a target letter in the 1-6 probe. We're asking about Sidney Powell as well and some of the people who were involved in that initial response team. His lawyer tells me. As CNN previously reported, Rudy did a voluntary interview with special counsel investigators several weeks back. His lawyer does not expect him to be charged. That's interesting. Why is that? Curious. We now know that they are moving forward. Donald Trump is confirming that himself. We'll see when the charges ultimately drop, but after Friday. Now, there are very curious questions about the timing on this thing. We know that the Biden crime family is going to be exposed tomorrow by two very competent, credible whistleblowers, Mr. Gary Shapley and Mr. X, who's going to be revealing his identity for the first time tomorrow in Congress at the Oversight Committee with James Comer and others. And so it's very interesting. Every time this happens, when the FBI was going to bring over the FD 1023 form, there was something else. There's always something that goes on. It's always a big surprise. And so Fox News caught that as well. They're previewing what's happening tomorrow, hoping that what happens tomorrow is overshadowed by today.
Records is they're going to do just that and try to delay it until past November of next year. So what we did is, from some of their known associates, we subpoenaed those bank records, and we got those, and we have found 170 suspicious activity reports that have been generated by Biden family activity, banking activity.
Before I let you go, Congressman Fallon, after what happened today with former President Trump and an potentially impending third indictment against him, what about the timing? Everybody knew you were going to do this hearing tomorrow. Your quick thoughts.
It's awfully suspicious. All we're going to do, Harris, that I can promise you, is we're going to follow the evidence, and we're just out for justice. And the Bidens have been, stonewalling us at every turn, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah. So there's really nothing the left can do on the other side, whether it's going after Trump or anything else, that's going to stop you getting to the truth at this point, with now 3 whistleblowers. Great to see you. Representative Fallon, we'll see you at work tomorrow.
We will watch that hearing tomorrow, or at least hit the recap on that when it does come out. But very interesting timing indeed. So this is serious business, and this is troubling. Every time that we talk about this, it's always almost a surreal experience to think about a former president who's the current leading contender being prosecuted in a criminal court system in D.C. by Joe Biden's Justice Department in the middle of an election season. It's just a bizarre thing, but it is here, and it is something we've been expecting for a long time, and the indictment will ultimately come. We'll be able to go through it in full detail and break down exactly what's happening like normal, rational people. But they're indulging or enjoying Jack Smith indulging in footlongs. And this is what CNN was talking about after news of the indictment broke.
Jack Smith can't resist a $5 footlong. That's according to what we see right there. New and exclusive CNN video of the special counsel at Subway, declining, though, to respond to reporters' questions about today's big news. A target letter sent to the former president of the United States. CNN's Evan Perez was there trying to track down the special.
What? $5 footlong? Now, did you hear this music too? Listen to this music. It's like this crescendo. Whoa, we have prosecuted Trump.
Jack Smith can't resist a $5 footlong. That's according to what we see right there. New and exclusive CNN video of the special counsel at Subway, declining, though, to respond to reporters' questions about today's big news. A target letter sent to the former president of the United States. CNN's Evan Perez was there trying to track down the special.
All right, so he's getting himself a fake sandwich, just like his fake prosecution. I'm a little concerned about it now. Now I'm nervous. So that message, I'm shook. I'm quivering in my boots. That's what's going on CNN, okay? And they're serious about this. Listen to him.
Documentation, we saw the level of detail. Jack Smith going to Subway today is a message to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump tries to intimidate people. He tries to bully people. He tries to scare you away. That was Jack Smith with no words and a simple $5 sub in his hand saying, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, the imagery was intentional and spoke volume.
It really is.
All right, those are the goofballs over there on CNN.
Of course, on the special counsel side.
Yeah, they're just going to keep talking about it, no doubt about it. So, all right, Jack Smith can't resist a footlong. CNN said it, not me. Now, this is going to continue on, and we'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thank you for going to robertgovea.com, signing up for our newsletter so you can get access to this mind map and poke around as this case develops, and we'll see you on the next one.